Thanks for tuning in. Jim Cantore here with John Hope as we continue to update you on Hurricane Bob. Earlier we just had a statement Dennis Smith grabbed for us. Block Island, 125-mile-an-hour winds when that came in. They also had some sunny skies.
So that shows they were right in the eye there for a little while. And now the eye is going north-northeast still. I notice I have a new report from Buzzards Bay. They're still gusting to better than 80 miles an hour. The wind there, Jim, is coming in from the southeast, and that tells us that the eye is going to slide up to the east or to the west of Buzzards Bay, actually. Well, lots of heavy rain there yet and a high storm surge. We have a lot of report of trees down. You know, all the major hurricanes that have hit New England have always blown down a lot of trees, and a lot of the damage is going to be caused by trees not only falling on the wires, the overhead wires, but on the houses as well. A lot of blocked streets.
Unfortunately, I was looking forward to a nice foliage this year, John, up in southern New England. Let's go to the Boston video that we have for you. This is very, very current, and we also have Herb Stevens on the line. Herb, you can tell us where you are, North Kingstown, Rhode Island, which is south of Providence. Give us an observation of what you're dealing with.
So the winds, which had been blowing very strongly from the east, slackened considerably, and then the rain was just coming straight down. That lasted about 15 minutes. We didn't see any sunshine, but the skies brightened up. And then about 5 minutes or so ago, the winds went into the west-northwest. They have picked up, and it is pouring again. And it looks rather bright off to my west. So I kind of get the impression that whatever's left of that eye is going by, or has gone by, just to my west. I'm about 2 miles west of the bay myself, and it seems as though the eye might be a little further inland than that.
Coastal Maine, as that storm goes up there very rapidly.
In fact, we've been seeing some scenes from Boston earlier today. This was shot shortly after 12 noon. Even at that time, with winds only up to about 35 miles an hour, John, they were still seeing some trees snapping and some structural damage to some of the houses in that area. And later in the afternoon, shortly before 2 o'clock, we were illustrating some more structural damage. These are scenes from Boston, Massachusetts, still fairly far from the storm as it's moving on in through Rhode Island right now. And so this is the kind of thing we can expect as it approaches Boston. The balance of the afternoon, the winds will continue to pick up.
They will pick up stronger winds than what we've already seen, and you saw what it did already.
And another point to bring up is high tide is about 7:30 to 8 o'clock.
5 miles an hour. Winds 110 miles an hour. We will, of course, continue to cover it.
This afternoon, down through areas of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. The storm is continuing to move on off towards the north-northeast at about 35 miles an hour. We would have it in a position about 35 miles southwest right now of Boston, Massachusetts. The winds in Worcester and Providence have come around to the north, indicating
also the storm surge. The path continues in this red zone as it continues on toward the northeast, and the storm surge, as I mentioned, coming in just before high tide, but eventually it will be moving up toward the Maine coast at high tide. The hurricane force winds on shore now, and the heavy
towards the northeast. Now again, heavy rainfall has been the order of the day too. The dark green banding that you see on this particular radar vantage point represents some of the moderate to heavy rains. We've had reports in Connecticut and Rhode Island of 3 to 4 inches. Lesser
half of Boston, they'll have the strongest winds they're going to have, and then it should begin to let up, and the rain will let up there as well.
And this storm is moving quickly. What are we going to see even by tomorrow?
Well, it's going to clear.
We're gusting as high as 100. We have some more information on the storm. The winds are 105 miles an hour. It is moving north-northeast at 35 miles an hour. It will be heading on up through Portland, Maine, and on up toward Bangor as we move into the evening. But you can see the coverage of rain. It is rapidly moving north and just almost up to Providence, Rhode Island, which was in the middle of very heavy rain. The eastern end of Long Island still picking up rain. There's a low
expected. We'll bring John Hope in on this just a minute, but I want to let you know it continues to be centered just north of Boston is the center of the storm right now. It moved on through areas like Block Island about 1:30 this afternoon with 125 mile-an-hour winds. Falmouth, Massachusetts reported 94 mile-an-hour winds. winds, and they even had some heavy rainfall in Connecticut and areas of Rhode Island earlier this afternoon, and even moving on up to Boston, some very strong winds and some damage reported there. Well, we're going to be talking to John in just a second, but it's definitely showing a dramatic decrease in southern areas of New England where the sun is shining right now, while Hurricane Bob, the center of it, continues to move northeast of Boston, continuing to move on off rapidly, about 35 miles.
Still see it even after it's
Right
crossed Cape Cod, so it's not dead by any means. But since it's not very far from Portland, I think it's actually a little bit southwest of Portland, I'd say that is, but it's moving 35 to 40 miles an hour now toward the northeast, and gradually it's going to cut across the coast here somewhere in the vicinity of Portland or a little bit past there, and I'll do that pretty quick, about I'd say an hour from now, hour and a half, something like that.
And our concern earlier was it was moving a lot slower earlier, and we thought it would coincide with high tides. That looks like it's going to be out of there by the time high tides hit around the Portland area.
I think so. At least it'll be inland, and once it gets inland, then it will, and especially if it gets, you know, over the large landmass there, it'll die out even faster than it has been.
And I've seen the winds coming down even Boston after having some hurricane force winds have come down quite a bit.